Hey, what's going on, y'all? DKB here. Let's see. Looks like we already had some people in here. Kaiba Studios. Got you. No worries, Kaiba. Hopefully you feel better. For those just coming in, I did have a special guest today. Let's go ahead and bring him in. Hey, what's going on, Long Beach? Can you hear me?
Yeah. What's going on? Can you hear me? Is everything good?
What's going on, bud? How you doing today?
I'm all right. How about yourself?
As good as good. I'm actually trying to air dry outside still. I just came in from having a little water fight with the boys.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a good day for all things Jets though, for sure. I know we got a training camp coming up in 2 weeks. I think to the T starts on the 30th, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess before we even dive into all the things, I'm fairly new, I would say, to your channel. You know, within the last couple months, probably when I started around posting myself. So I'm curious a little bit. If you could share some of your backstory with us.
Yeah. First off, again, so thank you for inviting me on and having me on your channel. So I'm a guy that just grew up and fell in love with the Jets, watching the Monday Night Miracle. That was literally like the first Jets game I watched all the way through. And I was just intrigued by the team. Really wasn't into football that much. I was a big basketball player, and just decided, hey, let me see what this team is all about, see what's going on here. So I continue to watch the team, continue to follow them. That's when like Vinny and Curtis Martin and all those guys were doing their thing. And I just continued to follow the team throughout that. And then I started to make Jets content, continue going forward doing that, continue to going forward making content on my channel, and was on a different situation. Then I started my own live radio show again, which is the Long Beach Joe Show, which we do throughout the entire season. My number to call in is 515-602-9639. And we do a lot of fun stuff. We talk about the New York Jets, we talk about all the positions. We really analyze the team and have a lot of fun. I have a lot of great callers, and I just love discussing this team with everyone. Have a lot of fun just connecting with
That's
a lot of
what's
Jets
up.
fans. Yeah, I have a lot of fun just connecting with Jets fans and talking to people, whether it be on social media. My social media is YoungJ000. The show's social as well is at the Long Beach Joe. That's on Twitter. You can also find me as well on Facebook. You just search the Long Beach Joe Show, and that should come up. And we just have a lot of fun talking about this team, man. We really do. Oh, my YouTube
That's
as
what's up.
well
Yeah, I
is
wasn't aware.
yeah, my YouTube as well is Long Beach Joe Jets, for those that just like my name there. If you search that up on YouTube, that's where you'll find all of my content and everything else as well. So, and again, thank you for having me on, and salute to everybody watching as well.
No doubt. Yeah, no, for sure. I think it's likewise with the Jets community. I can't really speak for any others, but I think we really come together to dive
Mm-hmm.
into all things from position to I even get surprises from. I think one of my more popular videos is when I break down the coaching staff and I get into some of the backgrounds, experiences,
Mm-hmm.
some of the schematic philosophies and how they've approached things in the past on other teams. So
Mm-hmm.
we really do kind of have a involved fan base, I would say, for sure.
Yeah, we do. I mean,
So
listen, there's no bandwagon hopping around here. If you are a fan of this team,
yeah,
you're a fan of this team because you love the team. Okay, because we ain't won
yeah,
a
no
lot,
doubt.
but this is a passionate fan base, and we all have our takes and our views on the team and what's going on. But when you look at what's happening now, we're excited. Excited for the future. So.
Yeah, no doubt. To double back real quick, when you say you're breaking down stuff with like other friends or
Oh no, I have callers, so I have a live call-in show. So people call in and we go back and forth, about the team and just everything that we're
got
seeing
you.
out there, from player acquisitions to what we're seeing throughout the season. I do a live watch along as well on my show too. So we watch the games together, and then after the games, we do a live radio show. We talk about the team winning or losing. which there was a lot of losses last season. So that's what we do, and we just have a lot of fun doing that. But yeah, I'm the guy, I'm the host, it's my show, but I have a lot of fun. I have a lot of great callers. So
That's what's up. That's what's up. Yeah, for sure. We'll have to tap into that. I would definitely say just drop it in the comments at least so we can have people see it on the replay for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure, I'll do that. Yeah.
So I guess starting off, that's things. How do you feel personally about Robert Saleh and the coaching staff? I mean, I know he's only a new year, having his first year done. There's also a lot of first timers just throughout his coaching staff, as well as what he did with, having a rookie quarterback, plenty of first year players throughout the team. And then even more so, a lot of key players that we picked up during the season. So kind of where's your comfort level with them at now? Because I've been hearing a lot of stuff about, him being more so on the hot seat rather than kind of having a grace period.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of Jets fans that are, I don't know, there's some people that talk about him being on a hot seat. I don't see that. I thought that Robert Saleh did a very good job. I thought this coaching staff did a solid job as well. It was a little rough at the start, but again, we've got to remember that this is a rookie coaching staff. This is the first time that this guy's been a head coach, so he stepped in. There were some bumps, some bruises there. We also had some issues as well with injuries that costed us early. If you talk about Robert Saleh, the first thing clearly you want to talk about is he was brought in here, to kind of be the CEO guy, but more so because of his defensive prowess. Let's be serious here, okay? That system that he ran in San Francisco was phenomenal. He was able to put guys in different positions, even guys that were supposed to be undersized, guys that a lot of people are kind of thrown away and said, hey, this guy's not going to really make it. He was able to put those guys in positions to make plays. Even though that system in San Francisco, if you looked at it last year, and they beat us really bad when he was their defensive coordinator one year, and it was because even though they suffered a lot of injuries, he was still able to get the best out of the guys that were still there. He put a lot of guys in great positions to make plays and really shine talent-wise. He put them in the best positions to utilize what they had. So when you look at what our defense kind of went through last year, there were issues up front. And I kept telling people constantly, especially after we lost Carl Lawson, that we were going to struggle defensively because there was no pressure at all after him. We all were hoping, John Franklin Myers would be the guy to step up. But let's be serious. John Franklin Myers made a couple plays, right? He flashed sometimes, but it was wildly inconsistent. So with no pressure, you got 30 years to throw the football in a passing league. Guess what's going to happen? People are going to put up points on you. Like that's how it works. If you look at that defense in San Francisco, right? What are they known for? Pressure. Joey Bosa, Fred Warner, they got other guys as well that they send at you. There was nobody to send at them here. But there was times where our defense really did step up and played very well. But we also suffered offensively at first too, early in the season. Anybody remember that? Zach Wilson couldn't find his way. There was a lot of issues up front protecting him. I remember at one point during the season, people were screaming about firing Mike LaFleur. I remember it like it was yesterday. Yeah. People were calling in saying he does not need to be a New York Jets offensive coordinator. There's a lot of issues, so on and so forth. Well, once we sat Zach down after he got injured, because he was getting hit constantly, there was a lot of protection issues up front with Greg Van Roten, Connor McGovern. They were just letting pressure up the middle like nobody's business. Mekhi Becton was injured at that time. He got injured in the first game, so we were, still making the moves to tackle. And here we have Mike White step in and things change offensively. And that's when people went, whoa, wait a minute. Maybe this Mike LaFleur guy isn't as bad as we thought. Maybe he doesn't suck, because he went from the booth to the field. Once he got a quarterback that was more of a veteran guy, he didn't feel like he needed to be down there in his ear constantly. And we saw Mike White light it up. Mike White against the Bengals, he lit it up. If you look at us, how we won that football game, dink and dunk, get the ball out of your hands, be crisp, be clean, make concise decisions, get the ball to Michael Carter, let him do the rest. Get the ball to this guy, let them do the rest. Like, don't, hold on to the ball too long. He made some deep throws as well to guys that really went out there and produced. And that's when we started to see the offense kind of start to spin up and really move forward. Now, there were some other games after that. I think he ended up getting injured against the Colts, I believe it was that year. But there was times, again, where our defense still kind of struggled at times against the Colts. They ran on us like crazy that game. It was ridiculous. I think Jonathan Taylor, I think his name was, he had like 170-something yards by like halftime, I believe it was. They just absolutely destroyed us. But again, there was a lot of injuries and a lot of things. And I kept telling people that even throughout the season, you could see that one of the biggest issues with our defense particularly up front, was we didn't have the guys necessary, the tools necessary to run the defense as effectively as it should have been ran. Even though there were some players that were definitely playing well. CJ Mosley last year played very well for us. Quincy Williams last year, definitely when he got his shine before they tried to force Gerard Davis back in, he played well for us at spots. So we kind of pitter-pattered, but then eventually when Zach Wilson came back, I think we saw Zach be able to learn from what he saw from Mike White. And it wasn't just Mike White. We saw Joe Flacco have success in the offensive system as well. We saw, Josh Johnson have some success in the offensive system as well after they ended up sitting Mike White down. And I think Zach came back and was able to just get some things going, to show us some flashes, to show us that he really does have the ability. And a lot of that was due to the coaching staff and the play calling, because Mike LaFleur was able to really get Raleigh and get going. So I thought that we did a really good job. I thought the coaching staff was solid for us last year. I think they did a good job. I'm the most excited about Mike LaFleur because historically the Jets offense has been putrid. It's been awful. We have been so bad historically. I want to say that people don't think about this when they think about the Jets. Ryan Fitzpatrick holds most of our franchise records as a quarterback. I'm going to say this again, okay? Ryan Fitzpatrick, okay, holds most of our offensive records as a quarterback, okay? This guy was shattering records with Eric Decker and Brandon Marshall. Ryan Fitzpatrick sucks, but that's not an indictment on him being a good quarterback. It's an indictment on our franchise for being so bad offensively for years. So now that we've stepped into the modern day NFL, right, and we have a coach that understands how to put an offensive game plan together, we've got these weapons to really better, help Zach Wilson come along and to better our offensive chances. I think we'll see the New York Jets take a step forward. But again, with coaching, with what we have here, I'm excited about it because this is night and day from dealing with Adam Gase and his awful situation that we were with there. That honestly was so putrid. It's just ridiculous. But I'm excited about our coaching staff, and I don't understand why people are saying that he's on the hot seat, or why some Jets fans are saying he's on the hot seat. I don't get it.
Yeah, it's a strange phenomenon to me. I think it's just really, for the better part of 10 to 15 years, as you mentioned, we've been absolutely horrid. I mean, if we haven't been at the bottom of just the AFC East by, the first quarter of the regular season, then definitely by the end of the year, even without injuries, and that's been more of a recent phenomenon in the last 5 years or so, when we have had pieces in place and people were excited and things, you can actually point to the coaching staff then. We didn't develop, we traded a lot of assets out. There's a lot of draft hiccups that were in there with players that we've seen execute at a high level elsewhere. And you would say it has to be the coaching staff, right? We're talking about two players with very similar talents. So yeah, I would definitely say I'm in the same lane. I'm very high on Robert Saleh for one. I got a question for you in regards to him too, because I was also very high on Todd Bowles at the time, and I see a lot of parallels between Robert Saleh and Todd Bowles, even though they ran two different schemes in terms of the 3-4 and the 4-3. But I would say it's more so just kind of this feeling that the front office finally bought into having a GM and a coaching staff on the same page. We don't kind of feel this same rush, even though the contracts are set up differently, where we have Robert Saleh absolutely needing to win now, and the GM saying, well, I got 6 years, bro, so we're going to play this out how we play this out. Everybody was on the same page. We're bringing in a rookie quarterback. We have a very fresh coaching staff, which, for as much as I love experienced players, experienced personnel in the coaching staff room, I think it can't be spoken enough to have that fresh mentality from people. Mike LaFleur is still being new, even though he has a lot of actual experience in the NFL itself. Same thing with Robert Saleh. There's also plenty of connections on the coaching staff between Ulbrich and a lot of our other coordinators as well. Fresh insights from previous players that we've had that are, coming through our ranks now. I love our wide receiver coach and our defensive backs coach. So kind of what are your thoughts in between why Robert Saleh might succeed where Todd Bowles was kind of failing at?
Well, the reason I think that Robert Saleh will succeed is because I think that we finally have structural integrity here with the New York Jets, and you kind of touched on it a little bit, but I don't think that people really understand that Mike McCagnon and Todd Bowles' marriage was not. It just wasn't good. It wasn't a good thing, right? We've always had issues with. Let's just break this down. We've always had issues with how the reporting structure began in the first place, right? Now with Todd Bowles and our last general manager McCagnon, they both just reported to the owner, right? And we know the Johnsons don't know anything. Okay, they don't know nothing. They don't know nothing about football, and I think that's been proven, right? These are the same guys that brought in Tim Tebow. These are the same guys that they don't know what they're doing. Okay, and it's clear as day that they don't. These I watched the Johnson brother say live, okay, that Adam Gase was a brilliant offensive mind. Okay, I watched it. I watched it. Okay, so that just tells you, okay, that they don't know nothing. So what we have here is we finally have structural integrity where you've hired a guy in Joe Douglas that is respected around the league, right? And not just respected because, oh, he's just a good guy and he hangs out with everybody. No, he knows football. And it's clear as day that he does. You see the trades, you see the draft, you see all these things that he's been able to do to really make this team a lot better. Honestly, a lot faster than I think some people thought we were going to, be. When you look at some of the moves that we've made, he's addressed a lot of things that haven't been addressed, correctly in years. And you see that he has a plan. It's clear as day. Zach Wilson is his guy. He drafted him, and you see that he's done everything that he can do to surround Zach Wilson with as much talent as possible. Why is that important? Because we never do that here. You watch what we did with Sam Darnold. Yeah, everybody says, oh, well, Sam Darnold, he sucked. Sam Darnold never had a number one wide receiver, like a legitimate number one guy. Sam Darnold never had real offensive weapons, let alone the fact that Sam Darnold never had protection. If you do not give a quarterback protection in this league, then guess what? You're gonna pay the price for that. And that's what we saw with Sam Darnold, right? Because a lot of the things that you don't want to have in a quarterback's DNA, he developed from not being protected, being skittish in the pocket, running, having rubber feet where he just seeing ghosts, right? We saw that. He literally said it. And I've warned people that those years, because again, I'm a big USC guy. Okay, let's be very clear. Fight on. I want to let everybody know that. All right. So when we drafted him, right, I was beyond excited because I understood what Sam could do. But I also warned people, if we did not protect him properly, there was going to be big issues. And that's exactly what we saw. A guy that was seeing ghosts, a guy that can never get comfortable in the pocket. We also saw the injuries as well start to roll out. Those are things that you do not want to see with a young quarterback. Well, guess what? We saw some of those same things last season with Zach Wilson, right? We saw the lack of protection, guys coming up the front, up the middle. We saw him, he would be skittish. He would take off running. He was taking shots. I remember before that, I think in the first game against the Panthers, there was a ton of sacks. Then he got sacked a bunch against Denver. He got sacked a bunch in New England the first time. Then the second time is when he actually jacked up his PCL. You cannot grow and move forward with a young quarterback if he's constantly taking shots, because guess what? He's just not going to be playing. And then you'll never actually figure out what he is, right? So to move on from that situation with Sam Darnold, and you look at those situations, going forward, what Joe Douglas has done with Zach Wilson, he said, whoa, I'm done with that. I'm going to start to put people around him so that he gets better. Greg Van Roten, goodbye to you, buddy. I'm going to bring in Lakeland Tomlinson. I'm going to move Elijah Vera Tucker to the other side, who's another great guard. Fight on. That's all I'm saying. All right. And he's another great guard. We're going to shore that position up. We're going to go out and continue to grab you offensive weapons as well. We see he got him Corey Davis, who is a solid number one here, at least when he's healthy. Right. Then we see then we got Elijah Moore, who's a budding, a guy that we think is really highly of a star. But he said, well, that's not enough. I'm going to go grab you Garrett Wilson as well. I'm going to go get you CJ Uzama. I'm going to go get you Tyler Conklin. Now we're addressing the tight end position, which has been awful for years. We haven't had a guy since Dustin Keller. We had Austin Safarian Jenkins for a little bit, but we haven't had a guy like Dustin Keller in years, right? So he's putting all these pieces. Never mind the fact that we got Michael Carter and Breece Hall in the back, right? We're going to run the football effectively as well. For those of you that don't know, we are in a run-first scheme. The New York Jets were awful last year in the run. Awful. We only had 100-yard rusher the entire year, and it was Michael Carter. I think it was against Jacksonville. One time, we're running the exact same offensive scheme that they run with the Niners. If you look at the 49ers, they're always near the top of the league in rushing. And it doesn't matter who the heck their running back is. It literally doesn't matter. They got a bunch of no-name guys. You can walk past them down the street, you wouldn't even know who they are, but they're running for a lot of yards every single year. That's exactly how we want to emulate our offensive football game plan here, but we couldn't do that because we didn't have the guys up front to get that done. Particularly, again, Greg Van Roten and Connor McGovern would literally not have things working. So when you look at what Joe Douglas has done with some of those moves, right? It's been amazing. You look at what he did with getting rid of Jamal Adams, getting 2 firsts. Look at what we've got from that. We've bettered ourselves so much. And I'm telling you, you can go back. Anybody can go. I was one of the first guys. I was literally the first guy, all right, talking about getting rid of Jamal Adams. I told everybody to get rid of him as soon as possible. He didn't play an impact position. I knew that he was going to do the stuff that he started to do. I was telling people, and I was shelled for doing that. But I told people, and I warned them, we will get better. We will be closer to a Super Bowl without him than we ever will be with him. And if you look at where we're going, if you look at what Joe Douglas has been able to do with the capital that we've gotten, we're getting further and further to being a team that's going to be competing for that. So I think that Joe Douglas has done a phenomenal job. I think that if you look at our structure, it's finally set to actually be winners here because we got guys that understand football. We have guys that understand how to motivate players as well, which I think is a huge thing with Robert Saleh, which again is another reason why I'm so excited for him being here. This is a guy that is a motivator. This is a guy that understands how to reach players. This is a guy that understands how to put players in positions to win. This is a guy that has players from around the league looking at the New York Jets now as a place to come and achieve something. If you look at a lot of the free agents that we got in this offseason, from CJ to Jordan Whitehead, Tyler Conklin talked about, DJ Reed talked about it. They talked about the fact that, look, I like what the New York Jets are doing with their building here, and I want to come and be a part of that. That has not happened in years. Remember when we used to be like the destination that you were either just use as a bargaining chip to go somewhere else? Like Hightower did that. I can name Anthony Barr did that.
I'm trying to remember who just somebody was just saying, and I can't even remember the guy right now, but he was saying that he was in a contract year and literally we outbid for him. That was the only reason that Avery Williamson. He was, Yep.
Yeah, there was a lot of guys like that. We would have to dramatically overpay for guys. Le'Veon Bell, that's what we did with him. That was one of the reasons why McCagnon got fired, because there was literally nobody else bidding for him. And he used us. He used McCagnon because McCagnon was under pressure because he knew he was done. All his drafts were bad. He had to keep signing guys just to try to make up for that. And we were getting used and abused, right? That is no longer happening. Joe Douglas is going to step in and say, listen, this is my number. If you don't want it, fine, I'll go and find somebody elsewhere, right? We've seen him. He almost got Tyreek Hill. Literally, he almost got him for like a second rounder and some change, right? But it was up to Tyreek Hill to decide where he wanted to go. He decided to go to Miami. No hate. You got to deal with Tua, dog. have fun. You know what I'm saying? But the fact that we were in there and we were like, it was down to us and the Dolphins at that point tells you something, that the New York Jets have a guy now that is in a position that I know football. I'm not going to get fleeced, right? I'm going to pay, a fair market value for a guy, but you're not going to use me anymore. The Jets are no longer the stepping stone. And again, when you have a guy like Robert Saleh that's respected around the league as well, where players want to come and play with him. The second that we hired him, you saw tweets from guys. Richard Sherman come out and talked about it. Man, the Jets got somebody. They got a guy. They got a guy that, is really going to step in. Guys from around the league were excited for him to get an opportunity. This is around the league, players coming out. We've never had that. So that more so, and again, I know we're going to talk about the players and why we're so excited about the roster, but that has been one of the biggest changes with the New York Jets franchise, because for years, we've been a complete circus there. That's been one of the biggest issues with that's been one of the biggest hindrance to our lack of success, right? Is because we've been a circus structurally. We've been a circus with our front office. We've been a circus with our coaching staff. Our ownership has been part of the circus as well. That is now done. Joe Douglas, Robert Saleh, they're on the same page. Everything is solid. And the Johnsons have stepped out and they're just going to sign off on everything and stay out of things. I love what the Jets have done, and I love where we're going.
Agreed. Yeah. And I think the call outs about, Anybody who's remotely heard of football in the NFL and they've heard about the Jets, it's normally not coming from our playoff, years 29, 2009,
No.
2010, 2011. It's
Mhm.
coming from the circus and the Tim Tebow era, the butt
Yeah.
fumble with Mark Sanchez. They're hearing on the back page clown talk, right?
Mhm.
And it's funny because I kind of feel like there's these moments in time where you can say, I see a switch being flipped, right? And I think this offseason was one of those key things. We got almost, minus Marcus Williams, every player that we wanted to target and bring in at a fair rate, as you mentioned. Not only that, though, you kind of see the opposite with Jacksonville maybe going back in decline, right? They go out here, they toss all these record-setting contracts that are, jacking up the rest of the structure for the league.
Yep. Yep.
And we can sit there and say, like, not only was this a guy we didn't necessarily target or need, but we didn't have to go out there and say we reset the market for this guy either. And now we have, this ensemble of crazy things going on. But
Mhm.
one of the things that always interests me is some of the trade talk as well that goes on around the league, right? Obviously, Joe Douglas has completely flipped like 90% of what this roster has looked like. And I've never seen any team necessarily fill every hole, whether that be on paper or not, in one, even two off seasons, regardless of draft capital or otherwise. So is there a particular position on our team where you look at it and say, I would like to see one more trade or, waiver pickup, whatever it is here? Because for me, when I take a look at the team, I know everybody, specifically looks at defense and the linebacker unit, but
Yeah.
I'm actually one in the minority that probably says I'm actually okay there because I still think we see one or two sneaky pickups.
Okay.
Preferably for me, I'm still looking towards the future, and I would love to see some kind of center get put in place and established where we can say I don't see us really doling out a second contract to McGovern. For me, the center position has always been one of the most significant ones outside of tackles for me on the line. And thinking about that future security, I would say let's bring in somebody that's going to, lock that up. Linebacker would be a close second for me. But what would you look at this unit? I know free safety's out there for a lot of people.
Yeah, there's been a lot of talk. I mean, for me, I think that the linebacker position for me is just one that I look at, and I think that that's probably one of our more pressing needs. Um, I heard that you're talking about center. For me, I mean, I'm not the biggest Connor McGovern fan at all. Let me get that out the way. Okay, I've talked about how bad he was last year, and honestly, he wasn't that great last year, but he was really bad with the Adam Gase stuff. Like him and Connor McGovern, or him and Greg Van Roten, excuse me, were bad as a combo. But I think for center, I think we'll be okay because I think we have Lakeland Tomlinson now on the line. So I think we have two good guards. Connor McGovern may be able to get better. But again, a center, I think you can get that. We can get those in the upcoming drafts. I remember there was a guy that got released from the Browns. His name escapes me right now, but he was a guy that I was interested in as well. But I think he ended up with another team already. So I think that he's not going to be picked up by us clearly because he's already on another squad.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. The name's
You know who I'm
escaping
talking.
me
I
too.
can't think of his name right now, but he was a guy that I was interested in. But I think Connor McGovern going into the season with what we have now, if these guys remain healthy, I think we'll be okay. But I think for me, linebacker is the biggest need on this football team. CJ Mosley is a guy that I love. Right, he's a great player. But he's getting up in age. I'm hoping this year he'll be able to emulate what he did last season. But again, Father Time is undefeated. So I think that when you start to see the decline, he's going into his 30s. He's also a guy that's making $17.5 million this year. I want to say this again. He's making $17.5 million. He's an inside linebacker. You do not pay an inside linebacker that much. Thank you, Mike McCagnon. Right? You don't do that. Okay. You don't do that, kids. All right. Whatever you do, grow up, go to school, have fun. Don't pay inside linebacker $17 million. Okay. But next year he's going to be making 18.5. So the dollar amount goes up even more. Now, I don't think he's going to be around much longer then, right? I can't see Joe Douglas paying this guy 18.5 million. Well, then after that, you look at our linebacker position, you got Quincy Williams, Quentin Williams' brother, who I thought played phenomenal, right? He was great. But after that, you got a bunch of question marks. Hamza Nezruldeen, Jamin Sherwood, these guys are coming off of injuries. They're young players as well. They were rookies last season. We didn't see much from them at all. So it's like you got a bunch of question marks after that. Nothing solidified. So I think you have to look at this linebacker position, especially when you look at what happened to us last year. We were getting beat by screens constantly. We were getting beat by tight ends. Oh my God, man, I'm still having nightmares about Pitts. I'm still having nightmares about that guy. Oh man, I think he's still running for touchdowns right now. Like, we saw us get beat by screens. We saw us get beat by tight ends. We saw us get beat by running backs coming out the backfield. Good Lord. I'm talking swing passes out the gate, right? Consistent. And every team was doing it, from the Titans to the Falcons to the Patriots did it to us. Our linebacking core had issues. So I think that that's what we're going to see continuing to be solidified going forward. After that, I know a lot of people talk about the safety position. I'm not necessarily soured on the safety position. I think Lamarcus Joyner coming back again. He got injured last season, but the coaching staff likes him. I think he'll be able to be successful in the system. I think we would have saw something more out of him if he didn't get hurt so early. And especially with us bringing in Jordan Whitehead, who is a guy that I think is phenomenal. This is a guy that has a championship pedigree, not just a guy that was just out there on the roster. No, he played, bro. He was out there putting hits on guys. He played in that Super Bowl game injured. He had a shoulder injury, was still out there drilling people. This is a guy that can come into our secondary and tell these guys, listen, I've been where you want to go. Here's what you need to do to get there. You know what I'm saying? I'm a real guy. I'm not one of these guys that was just sitting on the bench cheering these guys on. No, I was out there putting it on the line, injured, and still putting in work. He's one of the better safeties in the league. And I think he's a guy as well that at that strong safety position, this guy is going to be able to come in and really help us within our run support. So as for me, I look at it right now, and I'm just saying, hey, we just need to look at addressing linebacker position. Kaywon Alexander is a guy that I want bad. I don't think he's signed anywhere. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, he's still out there.
Yeah, because things be moving fast around here.
And I think the recent news is that we put out the contract about 2-3 weeks ago, right? Him, and not only him, but Riley Reef as well, as the more known guys in positions people are freaking out about. And I think the feeling right now is that they're just waiting to see if they can actually pull in some more money, or if it's going to be like a settlement deal. Because at least for Quan, we know he'll probably come in and be able to get some significant snaps.
Yeah.
Riley Reef, not so much. A guy that's generally not been excellent, but has been at least solid, but has been a starter. So, much like Morgan Moses would have to deal with taking a back seat, most likely.
Yeah. So Kaywon Alexander is a guy that I was interested in. Like you said as well, I knew that he came into the facility, I believe, twice. Once earlier in the offseason, and then a little bit more recently, him and Larry Ogunjobi ended up signing with the Steelers. But Kaywon Alexander is a guy that I'm definitely looking to target, get into the Jets facility and put on a green jersey. This is a guy that is extremely familiar with Robert Saleh and the system. He can come in and be a solid quality veteran linebacker for us and really shore up some things, especially again with his familiarity with the system. So linebacker for me is just number one.
Okay, so it sounds like, at least in terms of the linebacker, no matter how we get the person, you're expecting immediate impact, or is this more kind of like a signing? They'll play, fair amount of snaps, let's say 300 to 400 for the season, and then it's more of kind of a look to the future, or are you expecting a significant contribution right away?
Yeah, I'm just for what's still out there. Like I said, Kaywon Alexander. I mean, I don't expect him to come in and give us like like big, crazy numbers like that. I expect him to come in, be, solid, give us some solid snaps, give us some quality reps. And again, I think there'll be a rotation, because I think they're still going to try to work in Hamza Nezruddin, Sherwood, depending on how those guys come back. I know one had an Achilles injury. The other one jacked up his ACL or tore his ACL. So
I think Jamian's ACL.
Yeah, so we got to see how those guys come back. But again, those guys are going to be worked into the system as well. So I'm not expecting like some crazy impact from Kaywon, just giving us out of this world numbers. If he does, I'd love it. Wonderful. But we just need a guy that's going to come in and give us some quality stuff, give us some quality veteran plays, and not just be a gigantic hole on that field at linebacker.
I got you. Yeah, I think the only reason I take a step back from the linebacker position is because I'm expecting it to be used fairly the same way we did in this first year, where primarily we're really only playing 2 linebackers, which is why we only roster about 5. So, depth players 3 through 5, the third and fourth realistically maybe seeing 200 to 300 snaps. And then the fifth one is really a special teams guy that's coming in on like emergency basis. So I don't want to say we can sit and wait, but I think that's what the reality is, especially given like the cap situation. And if it comes like a Kaywon versus Riley Reef situation, if we're talking about up in the money just a little bit, I see us leaning more towards Riley Reef. I did hear a little bit more. It seems like the coaching staff might love what Max Mitchell can offer on the offensive line. Who's a guy I've been doing a lot of research on him recently, checking out game tapes and stuff like that. The dude was a beast, and I get he was in this Sun Belt conference. He kind of has the Khalil Mack backstory almost, if you will, as an offensive line player. And it's not his fault. I mean, it's the reason we picked him up. For what he was playing within his conference, he dominated. So I would say we're probably better off there. But I think it's interesting kind of where we've devoted a lot of resources to. And it's funny because it all just ties back into this union between Robert Saleh and Douglas, where the number one position we really spent in is the defensive line. We have a plethora of players. Like we could literally send all of our backups and a starter or two and roster a football team for a whole nother player, a whole nother team. So we have somewhere between 17 and 19. We're probably holding 10. Is there any surprise cuts that you feel like might not make it past the defensive line? I talked about, Bryce Huff previously as a guy that was on the rise, but, with the numbers game now and who we brought in, whether it be people that we're just comfortable with, thinking about the Solomon Thomases and kind of having that experience within the scheme, or be it new players that we brought in, and the name's escaping me, but, our guy from the Texans that we just picked up. What kind of surprise cuts are you thinking about?
Yeah, I don't know if there'll be like any real surprise cuts. Again, I think we have quite a bit of guys, like you said, John Franklin Myers, a guy like Sheldon Rankins, Quinnen Williams, who I'm expecting big things out of this season. He's a guy that we're looking at right now, man. We took that guy high in the draft. And I think to this point, even he said it himself that he hasn't really lived up to his, draft pick status. He should be dominating, and he hasn't really dominated yet up front. But again, with the re-addition of Carl Lawson, because he's coming back from that injury, from his, the issue that he had last season. He missed the entire season for us. So, with him coming back and then us adding Jermaine Johnson as well, I think that Quinnen Williams should feast, because he's going to get so many one-on-ones now, and he should absolutely just dominate people up front. So I think with those guys up, I don't think there's going to be too many like surprise cuts going on up front. Again, you talked about Bryce Huff. He's probably a guy that may not make it because of the numbers game, because Michael Clemens, people are talking about him constantly. This is a guy we just got in the draft. He's phenomenal. If he can keep, his situation clean, I know he's, there's been some issues with him in the past. We all know that. But he said himself that he's moved on from that. He's not going to allow that to, identify him or identify his future, and he's ready to go. And people are fired up about him. This guy is an athletic freak. He truly is. You look at what he was able to, run in the 40 of a man his size is unbelievable. And he has so much power and technique as well. He's a guy that I think may ascend in his defensive line too. And like you said, Jacob Martin as well. This guy with a nonstop motor that was playing with the Texans that a lot of people are excited about. So I think that our defensive line, and again, training camp's going to come up. There's going to be a lot of battles, but our defensive line, I think for the most part, a lot of the names that you hear, those are probably going to be the guys that's going to really step up and do their thing. But it's going to depend on how many we keep too, because I'm telling you, it's just so many monsters here. I haven't even talked about Vinny Curry, who's a guy that we brought back that had that, that blood disease issue. Well, he's back. That's been cleared up. Here's a veteran guy that's coming in, and I'm telling you, he's going to be able to get us some quality slaps as well, get into the rotation. So, man, this defensive line is full of monsters. It truly is.
Yeah, no, I don't think we'll be able to say enough until the regular season starts about the defensive line and what can be on there. I got people that I have my eye on. I loved when we originally picked up Bradley Anae from the Cowboys as a guy who I thought could be a pretty good depth piece if he was able to find his way onto the roster. As you mentioned, Vinny Curry, JFM, I'm expecting to be. And I don't really want to put that pressure out there, but I think he can have a season like we would expect from Quinnen Williams if we do more of a 70-30 split with him playing on the inside, because when we take a look at his numbers statistically, or if you just, go off the eye test, as I think it makes sense to do in certain cases, the dude's a beast. As an interior penetrator, he's definitely up there with like the Grady Jarrett's for sure. So having that side by side between him and Q, I think just makes perfect sense. I'm more intrigued by the offense, I would say, as a defense in general, because even to your point with the safety position, I'm perfectly fine with what we have, honestly. I mean, Lamarcus Joyner, I've talked about it before, had his best seasons in I think it was 2018, 2019, as a pure free safety. I mean, every other place that he's been in, Oakland completely decimated him. Los Angeles even had him playing more so of like this why is the honey badger role, essentially kind of having him play more nickel. And then, of course, his earlier years, he's trying to get his feet wet. So I think that return and purely focusing on that. I mean, he had 4.55 speed coming out. I don't think even with I don't think he had an ACL injury. It was like a torn labrum, if I remember correctly, for him.
Yeah, it was something like that.
Yeah. So, I'm not really expecting a loss in speed or anything crazy. Everybody loves Jason Pinnock. I'm not super high on safeties a lot of times, and my names that I throw out there for people are actually, pretty far out there. The last guy I really have fell in love with that I just think didn't get enough opportunity was Antonio Allen. And, for people that don't really remember him, he was literally, and we've had trouble snacking the ball for quite a while now in the secondary. He was the last guy to get a pick six off Tom Brady. So, that just speaks to how inept kind of we've been at being able to create opportunities on that side. But I know you mentioned as well, super hyped for Mike LaFleur and what he will bring. Who do you think are going to be maybe some of these elite players that we see stand out in this offense now?
Man, this is listen. I'm going to start at the top first. I think that I am so excited for the second year of Zach Wilson. I am so excited to see what this kid is going to be able to turn into, because I think he has the traits and he has what it takes to really be a top 10 or top 15, maybe top 10 quarterback in this league, right? Which top 15 would be phenomenal. I'll take that all day. You know what I'm saying? That's all I need.
Not even sniffed anything close to that. We're hovering around 28, every season.
I'm telling you, top 15 smells good. I'll take it. You know what I'm saying? Smells good to me. So I think that he's a guy that has the ability. And I think, again, with all the weapons, one of the things that I really love about what I've seen from Zach Wilson so far this offseason is you can see that he's prepared himself physically. He hit the weight room. I mean, you can literally physically see that he is
that boy looked different. In a matter of like 4 to 6 months, the boy looked different.
Bruh,
if you put him in, he looked like he slapped on an Iron Man suit, bro, and was just like, let's go.
Talk to them, okay? Listen, man. This guy is clearly taking the weight seriously. He's clearly taking things seriously to prepare his body physically for this upcoming season, right? Which is huge, because the NFL, the season, you saw how much he got hit last season. You saw how, things needed to be worked, how he had to move around. Preparing your body physically, that means something. That's letting everybody else know. I know how serious this season coming up is for me. Right. I know what it takes to go out there and really compete. And I'm going to make sure I'm in shape physically so that I can go out there and put it into work. But it's not just the physical stuff that we saw, because we clearly see he's taking the weight room seriously and he's in there and doing his thing. It's the mental focus that has changed as well.
Speak to him.
Yes.
Speak to
him. when you hear Mike LaFleur, right, coming out and saying, listen, I don't even really have to say too much. I'm in the huddle. I'm calling plays. And he's high-fiving people. He already knows what's going on. He knows where the ball needs to go. Yeah, he knows where the ball needs to go. He's identifying things very quickly, way more quickly than he did last season. And then they're talking to him, and he's saying, yeah, look, I'm going back. I'm watching plays, right? I'm seeing what the defense is bringing out there. And I'll go back and study some tape from somebody else that was in the system, a system similar to what we ran, and see what they did against that defense. See how they attacked it. Like all those things, figuring out all those things, right? That is huge, because let's take away the physical stuff, right? We've seen quarterbacks not even be physically gifted in this league, but be able to succeed because of their mental. One of the
Yeah, Alex
biggest.
Smith was a huge comparison for me when people talked about, the whole Mike White should be our go-to guy for the future.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, well, that's great. Let's pause the brakes. We know why we
Hmm.
signed Zach Wilson, but
Hmm.
if you want to compare offensive schemes and how people can operate, Alex Smith was like the key go-to, game. I'm not going to lose you a game. I might not win you every game,
Yeah,
but
but I'm gonna put you in a
if you want,
position.
exactly.
I'm gonna put you in a position to take it. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna cost you anything. I'm gonna put you in a position to take it. But one of the biggest things, right? I want to stay within the Jets, right? One of my favorite Jets of all time, well, my favorite Jet of all time is Chad Pennington. Chad
I
Pennington
knew
was not physically
it.
gifted. He wasn't
Yeah.
physically gifted. I love the guy. He wasn't physically gifted. He didn't have the biggest arm. He wasn't the most athletic. He damn sure wasn't Michael Vick. Right? We see him get outside the pocket. He was moving, but he wasn't moving very fast, right? What made Chad Pennington so good? The mind, the mental game of football. He was unbelievably brilliant. Okay,
Yeah, in terms of
he would
quarterbacks we had that could operate that pre-snap attack,
exactly.
he's the
He
pinnacle.
knew he knew everything that was going on pre-snap. He could figure out a defense extremely quickly. Not only could he figure it out, but he could dissect it and then figure out where the ball needed to be because he wasn't physically gifted. So it needed to be extremely accurate. He would make sure the ball get there extremely accurately and get into a wide receiver hands to where you can keep running with the football. Those are the things that he was doing. Right. So, and we've seen other quarterbacks around this league succeed because they're so mentally gifted when it came to football. I'm not comparing Zach Wilson to these guys, but again, we saw Peyton Manning for years could literally read your mail. All right. Literally read your mail from your mailbox. Okay. And absolutely put you in the dirt because of it. We saw it, see Tom Brady, all these guys throughout the league, Aaron Rodgers, all these guys that understand the mental part of football. Right. And then that correlates to their success as well. So when we start hearing about the same things from Zach Wilson, that he's figuring things out a lot faster. We call a call. He already knows where the ball needs to go. He can dissect things. He's going out there. We try to fool him. Can't really get him. And then even if he does see some things and has some situations, he goes back and references, film from other things so that, oh, okay, I seen what he did in this defense. I'm going to do the exact same thing to you next time. So that shows that there's growth. There's maturity happening. He's ready to take ascend and take that next step forward. And then when you surround him with the weapons that we have now, which I'll go into, listen, I'm excited about this offense so much because I think we're finally going to get back to being able to run the football effectively. When you look around the NFL, right, the teams that are really having big success year in and year out, from the Pittsburghs, the Ravens, so on and so forth, they have adequate running games. They will run you into the dirt. And what does that equal? Time of possession, dominating it, right? Being able to really extend your drives, being able to make things a lot easier for your quarterback. Again, if you look at our system, it's a run-first system. We run the exact same Shanahan scheme that they run at the Niners. The Niners are winning with Jimmy G, and Jimmy G's not that good, okay? I'm keeping it real. He's not that good. Why is he successful? He's successful because that running game is so dominant. They're able to put him in positions. Hey, Jimmy G, do this, do that, get this ball here, and he sees success doing that.
15 to 20 passes a game. I think
I'm
he
telling you,
averages like 22 a season, something like that. Yeah.
easy, right? Easy. Just makes it real easy. Well, here we have Zach Wilson, who is unbelievably athletically gifted with an arm that is crazy. Now you give him more weapons, right? And you give him a solid running game. And I think we'll see a lot more offensive success. I'm excited about Michael Carter. I know a lot of people are talking about Breece Hall. Breece Hall is phenomenal. But Michael Carter, I think a lot of people are sleeping on. This was a guy, I know a lot of people are forgetting this now. There was a time last season, right, where he was like our only offensive playmaker.
Yeah.
Go back and watch that Bengals game. He's the big reason why we won that game. He was the guy that was getting the ball in space, taking off, running for touchdowns, all that stuff. There was a stretch.
I think that's the game he had almost like I want to say almost 200. I think it was maybe closer to 150, but all scrimmage yards, right? He like tore him up. 90 something rushing yards, I think like 60 something receiving.
Yeah, he was lighting people up, and I'm telling you, especially again coming out the backfield and catching the football as a wide, he was destroying people in those matchups, right? And then as the season continued on, we saw he had a concussion and stuff like that, but he was a guy that was definitely making plays. And again, he was running at times, finding holes when the offensive line was awful, and he was running away from guys and making plays. There was times where plays should have been caught in the backfield. He was able to squirm and get away and turn it into, a 1, 2, 3 yard game when it should have been a 5-yard loss. So that's a guy that I'm extremely excited about. And I feel like a lot of people are sleeping on him because, again, Breece Hall, who I think is going to be great, but Michael Carter is going to be something else in this league, especially with this offensive line that we got up front. Again, I've already talked about the line, but I want to talk about Mekhi Becton. This has got a lot of people, okay, are talking crazy about out here. I'm talking crazy, and I know you've seen it. Fans talking crazy.
Big Bus 77.
Yeah, big bus. He's overweight and all this other stuff. And I'm like, okay, well, you look at Mekhi Becton. Okay, well, Mekhi Becton is healthy. He's elite. He's special, like beyond special. And we've seen, guys around the league, quality offensive linemen. I'll talk about, of course, we see the breakdown from Baldy and all that stuff, which is phenomenal. Baldy knows what he's talking about. And all these other guys. But when you got a guy like Damian Woody coming out, who was in the league for years, who's a great, offensive lineman in this league for years, great Jet as well, coming out saying, listen, this guy's one of the top tackles in the league. Seriously. He didn't even say top 5. He said top 5, tackle in this league. You watch what he was able to do in his rookie year. There was Jets fans were saying he might have been, or he was the best offensive player that we had that year. That he was the best offensive player that we had when he was a rookie.
He could have had his own highlight tape. I mean, the way he's slapping around. I mean, and we're talking about like Joey Bosa's, Nick Bosa's that he's running up against, and he's burying them by the neck. It looks like he's doing, WWE stunts out here on people.
Yeah, Chubb, he did the same thing to Chubb too, like Nick Chubb. Like he faced a lot of great pass rushers and stuffed them that year. So, he had the knee injury last season. You can't help that a guy like Greg Van Roten gets thrown into the back of you. But all these things that we've consistently seen, not from the fan base and also from the media, getting ready to destroy him for whatever reason, constantly saying he's overweight. What's crazy is I remember him posting videos and pictures from the facility in live real time last offseason. You remember that? He looked leaner. He looked leaner than he did his rookie year. And what's crazy? People were saying he was fat then too. People were saying he was fat, and he was so lean. It was like, what?
That's the hype train, I mean, I put out a video because there was an article on Bleacher Report that made me dive into it. He has such a crazy team around him in regards to keeping his weight up since the injury stuff happened. And you're naturally, probably 370, 380 pounds. Yeah, you're going to balloon up on a dislocated kneecap, right? So that should have been tossed out the window. But he has a nutritionist. He literally has, essentially a backup nutritionist. He might not have been to the facility every day, but he's in touch with the team and the coaching staff. He basically had what he would have had at the Jets facility at home at Texas.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it's just it's always been ridiculous. Even before the injury, people were constantly saying that he was fat, and he wasn't. I mean, it's just like I said, last season and off season, he was posting live videos and pictures from the facility. And he looked super lean, and there were still people in the media pushing. No, he's fat. He's overweight. He's fat. And we're like, hey, but he just posted himself going to practice like 10 minutes ago, and he looks super thin. He almost looks like crazy thin to be a lineman. And they were like, no, he's fat. And it's just, this has gotten ridiculous. But I'll tell you one thing, Mekhi Becton, when healthy, and I know that, Robert Saleh has talked about him competing for the left tackle spot because George Fant has done so great. And I think George Fant's phenomenal, right? When Mekhi Becton is healthy, he is hands down the starting left tackle for the New York Jets. I've gone out and I've said this repeatedly. If Mekhi Becton is healthy, I'm looking directly at whoever is watching. Mekhi Becton is healthy. He'll be the New York Jets starting left tackle easily. He's one of the best left tackles in this league, and he is elite when he is healthy. That's in the discussion. And again, he's made it very clear that he hears all of you, okay, every single one of you. And he's going to make you eat your words this season. If Mekhi Becton is healthy and that knee's good, he's going to dominate people this upcoming season.
Left tackle is the only position where I almost feel like there's a little bit of the leftover old Jets regime because it feels like there's a lot of politics in play. So when I look at the left tackle position, I agree. If we're talking straight performance, Mekhi Becton's outplaying 99% of the league. So George Fant having an exceptional season, which is, a lot of people don't call off the one-off, which tends to be a common scenario for him, right? He's never really been able to play left tackle. He's been right tackle in Seattle. He's not getting a whole lot of time. So you have an exceptional season is great, and I don't want to knock that, right? But we haven't seen that consistency there. Yeah. You can say the same thing about Mekhi, one phenomenal rookie season, and then we have the injury, but we know what's there. Mekhi Becton's played the left tackle, right tackle role back in Louisville. And quite frankly, his highlight tape already looks better than what anything George Fant's produced. So my only worry generally is if I don't see George Fant if we see George Fant get an extension, I think then maybe more so we see just because they want to keep the ABT Mekhi Becton matchup strong. And if they both flip it for whatever reason, we lose Laken Tomlinson and them. That's the only reason. But yeah, I got really sick of the Mekhi Becton talk like 4 months ago, to be honest. Like, even if he is 400 pounds, our biggest concern really is just seeing him play on the field. Nobody says anything about Trent Williams, and he's almost touching the same weight. He just hit the 99 Madden Club. I mean, if Mekhi, I don't think it's crazy. If Mekhi Becton plays this season, we see him in the high 90s on Madden, like easy.
Yeah. I think that there's a lot of, and I don't want to disrespect anybody. I don't feel like I'm being. I think there's a lot of easy clicks when it comes to just calling out Mekhi Becton. I think it's low hanging fruit just to say he's fat, even if you don't have fruit, because literally nobody knows what his weight is. Nobody does. Nobody actually knows what his natural weight is either.
That secret is tighter than Area 51, bro.
I'm telling you, it's crazy. And again, these have been things that, and I think it's easy because you don't have to prove anything. One, and two, this has been something that people have been talking about since before he was drafted. This is literally, well, he's huge. He's a big guy. How long is he going to last? Like, we saw him, he was big in the league, and he was just destroying people then. And people was like, well, he can't do that in the league. And he gets into the league, he does the exact same thing. He's grabbing people, throwing them around, stuffing people that are supposed to be top edge rushers in this league, making them look very normal, very average. And it was like, okay, well, now he's still doing it at this level. But I tell you what, I'm excited to see him in this upcoming season. I'm excited about this offensive line, how much it's been bettered. Again, Lakeland Tomlinson, the addition of him, I think is phenomenal. This guy's a road grader, a Pro Bowl, caliber guard. This guy is going to be able to come in and do this thing. And again, with Elijah Vera Tucker, being on this line too. And I think that George Fant is going to be on that right side at right tackle. So I'm hyped about this line more so because of the protection for Zach Wilson. We're not going to have this guy running around like he was last year or getting his PCL jacked up, right? I think a lot of people also forget that because there were some weeks. And I personally think that the coaching staff or somebody inside the Jets told him to stop talking so much, because there was an interview he did where they asked him how his knee was. And he told them, and this was like a couple of weeks after, he said, it's not okay. Like,
you're right.
It doesn't feel good. It still feel kind of loose. And I remember he was talking about that after games, and eventually he just stopped talking about it. Because I think somebody told him, hey, shut up.
I had to be, because I remember an article coming out about it too, about everybody has the politics about how you answer media questions, and it came out right after that interview. I remember exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, so and again, I think people are just like kind of not paying attention to that. That's not good. When you have a rookie quarterback saying my knee's jacked up, that's a problem. You don't want your quarterback to get his knee jacked up, okay? Because he's a quarterback, okay? So with those issues kind of being solved up front, where he's not going to be getting blasted every week, like, I mean, he was, you watch the games, like he was taking shots. That Panther game, the first game, he took a hit one time. I think it was from Riddick. I didn't think he was going to get up. I'm being completely honest.
Was that the hit that looked slightly late?
Oh my, yeah. But he was taking shots throughout the year like that. Yeah. The hit before he jacked his PCL up against the Patriots, I thought he was done. Seriously. And he popped up and kind of like walked over, and I was like, bro, that does not look good. And then the next hit was when he stayed down, and I was like, this is what we've been talking about. This is what we've been talking about. But I'll tell you what, this line being improved, and even again, you look at our tight end position, I'm extremely excited about that. CJ is a guy that I'm extremely excited about too offensively. We finally have some tight ends that can not only be threats within the receiving game, but can be solid blockers, which opens up what we can do offensively. Now, when we line up against defenses, it's not going to be so transparent what we're going to do. In the past, if we lined up in big sets, the defense would look at us and be like, you guys can't be serious. We know you running the ball. Just stop. Okay. We're going to bring our guys down into the box and we're going to destroy you. That's what they were doing. If you look last season, that's what they were doing. People were just like, we'll just stuff the box and send everybody at Zach Wilson and blast him. And that's what they were doing. Well, now you line up in a big set now. You bring out Conklin, you bring out CJ, and you guys have to decide, hey, how are we going to defend this? Because both of these guys are receiving threats. And if you sleep on us, guess what? they'll yoke you up too, open up just enough space for Michael Carter to take off, and you might be chasing him for the next 20, 30 yards, if not longer than that. He might hit his head on the goalpost. So you got to figure things out. Play action opens up as well, which is big within our offense too. Play action opens up. We can hit our tight end position. And I talked about these two guys, but also Jeremy Ruckert. Jeremy Ruckert is one of the better blockers, one of the better tight ends from the last class, but also one of the better blockers within that tight end class too. So I think with what we've done at tight end, I think clearly there's a screaming red and flashing red lights that the running game is going to be instrumental in this upcoming season. Joe Douglas is preparing, the roster for us to be able to run the football effectively, bringing in tight ends that can do both. So I'm excited about that. I would say the wide receiver position, probably the wide receiver I'm the most excited about, to be honest, is Elijah Moore, because he's just so phenomenal. But man, I love Corey Davis. And I think that this is going to be a redemption season for him. If you look at how we handled the situation with him last year, he was getting fed a lot early. Before the injury, there was some drops and stuff like that. But if he cleans that up, comes back this year, I think he's going to get a consistent, helping of targets as well, because a lot of what we did last season was, let's get Corey going early. I'm talking, he was getting, you saw it, he was getting fed constantly early. Let's get Corey going. It seemed like Zach Wilson, that was his favorite target. When things would break down, he would just look at Corey Davis and just chuck the football. Well, I'll tell you what, Corey Davis this year, he's coming out. I'm sure he has a chip on his shoulder. I'm sure he's been hearing some of the things that some of the fans have been saying about him. And he's a guy that I think is going to be able to put on as well. I'm excited about Garrett Wilson, Braxton Berrios, who's a guy that so much versatility, great returner, not just a great slot wide receiver as well, a guy that's going to move around. But I'll tell you what, Elijah Moore is a guy I think is really going to shine this upcoming season for the role that we're going to put him in within this offense.
He looks different. Did you see some of the drill work that they put out, like the footwork he was doing on the ladders? Mm-hmm. The man looks different. He comes in and out of cuts, the smoothest I've seen maybe since like Lavornus Coles on the roster. Yeah. To your point, it's probably our deepest wide receiver roster since we had Coles, Holmes, Shockey and all of them out there. So
yeah, but and I think that, and I know that people I've gone back and forth with a lot of Jets fans about Denzel Mims. Let's just get into it. I like Denzel Mims. I think he's great, right? But if you can't get on the field, I don't want to hear it. He's a guy that I think, for me, is probably a guy that has the most to prove at the wide receiver position this upcoming season, because he's a guy that has to prove that, I was picked up in the second round for a reason. Because he had a great rookie season, and I was under Adam Gase, which was weird because Adam Gase was awful. Yeah. But he had a great rookie season. We were all excited about him coming into next season, or coming into this past season. And we come into the season, and he literally does nothing. And there was a lot of, going back and forth with the fan base saying, hey, you guys shut this guy out. He's not. And they came out and, pretty much softly said, he doesn't know the playbook. That's why we don't play him. They said it real softly. They tried to make it, they said, listen, he needs to know every position on the field before we put him out there. And that was kind of like, hey, he don't know what he's supposed to be doing out there. Right?
If anybody's watching the games, we've seen it. Even for some of a lot of the people mentioned, I don't remember what game, but he had like two big plays, 2 catches, 40 yards, something like that. And they're like, see, that's the guy we need to be feeding him. And I'm like, did you see the other 20 snaps before that though, where he ran himself, out of bounds basically?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's been, kind of off with him, again. And we saw guys, and I know that there's a lot of people talking about, well, he didn't have an off season. Listen, he's not the only guy that didn't have an off season. Elijah Vera Tucker and Elijah Moore didn't have a full off season either. Both of them missed times due to injuries. I think Elijah Moore had a quad injury. Elijah Vera Tucker had a tricep injury. Those guys missed preseason. And again, even if we just stick to his position, Elijah Moore was a rookie coming in, playing in a brand new league, a brand new offense with brand new players, and was able to have more success at wide receiver than Denzel Mims did with no offseason.
And out of position. They were playing him a lot on the boundary when we really thought he was going to be a pure slot receiver.
Exactly. And so we're coming into this year where you are a second-year guy and you can't get on the field. He was getting beat out by DJ Montgomery and Tariq Black. Those guys were on those guys are on the field getting more targets and catches than Denzel Mims. Right now, honestly, there's going to be a battle at that 5th wide receiver spot because Jeff Smith is putting up a fight. Jeff Smith is a guy that we have seen be able to make plays when the ball is put in his hand. We saw his connection with with Sam Darnold when he was, out there with Sam. Coming into this OTAs this year, people are talking about him constantly. Yo, this guy is really going to push. He's pushing for that 5th wide receiver spot. He could end up being the guy. Jeff Smith is solid. Again, fight on. But even putting that to the side, right? Jeff Smith can be a guy, man. He's a solid set of hands. He can run his routes pretty smoothly. And he's got a little uptick. He can move now. He's not.
Yeah, he's some underrated athleticism for sure.
Yeah, I'm telling you, he'll slide right past you if you don't pay attention. So, Denzel Mims is definitely going to have a fight on his hands. I think he's a guy he has a lot to prove in this upcoming season. I understand the workout footage is great, but bro, when it's time to get out there with the playbook and run these routes and run it within the offense effectively, Denzel Mims has got to show us something, man.
I've already mentioned this before, and I got a lot of pushback as well for it. I see him really being a trade candidate before the regular season, because the facts are, even if he had the perfect offseason, they're going to want to see it in, real games. If you think about Zach Wilson and some of the feedback they got when he was lighting it up during the preseason, it was, well, you're facing vanilla coverages, you're facing second and third strings. It's like, I can't do anything about who they rolled out. It's going to be the same conversation with Denzel Mims. And, to your point, Jeff Smith had a lot of OTA coverage about how well he was lighting things up. Even DJ Montgomery was getting a lot of hype this offseason. He showed up to a lot of the, Zach Wilson tour, if you will, out in Arizona with Elijah Moore and all of them too. I think he was at the most recent passing camp that he just had with, the whole Zach Wilson MILF drama. He's on the outside looking in for me. And I think at this point, we're really just trying to set ourselves up to get the best value for him, And I point this out all the time. That's one of the best aspects about Joe Douglas that we've seen so far. His ability to get trade value back in situations it shouldn't even be applicable for. I mean, Blake Cashman almost never seen the field. He was like our defensive Denzel Mims or Mekhi Becton, if you want to go that far with it. And, I think we got a 6th for him. We got a 4th for Chris Herndon. The list kind of goes on and on, especially in recent memory. But yeah, I think Denzel Mims will end up being a foregone conclusion. It's going to ultimately end up being a lot of wasted debates for people. And I'm actually, I was hyped for him. That was my guy. I mean, in terms of, I think what did it for me was when they put out the report about the Julio Jones comparisons, athleticism wise. And then I looked into it, checked out all the things, and I was like, oh, that's legit, because he does look different. If you see him just go out there and do stuff mano a mano, boy, it looks crazy. But, for whatever reason, things aren't clicking. And I think a lot of people forget this West Coast concept that we have for as great and, as quarterback friendly as it can get. It's a heavy, mental stress load on the running backs and wide receivers with the things that they need to know. It is very much so a chemistry based offense. And Denzel Mims just hasn't been able to, get that with Zach Wilson. But there's been a question that's been out here, and it's one that I would love to get your opinion on as well, in regards to where you think we stack up in the AFC East.
Mm-hmm. I want to get to that. But that Denzel Mims, there has been a lot of people talking about trading him. I don't know if I'm necessarily on that boat yet, right? I'm not there yet, but I understand where you folks are coming from.
Do you think he slides in on the roster?
I think he will. It depends on how many wide receivers we keep. But I think that, especially when you look at what the coaching staff has said about him this offseason, how hard he's working, they call him Mimsy and all this stuff. Yeah. I think that he's starting to build more of a rapport, and I think he's going to be able to pull some things together. Again, I think he's going to be battling for that 5th spot. But if we keep, let's say we keep 7 wide receivers, I think he'll be able to make it.
Yeah, if it's 7, no doubt.
6. Yeah, we keep 7, we keep 6. I think he'll be able to be here and make it. Again, like we said, our wide receiver from, Garrett Wilson, Corey Davis, Elijah Moore, Braxton Berrios. No, we got guys, you know what I'm saying? We got some guys that's really going to be putting some things together. But I think that he'll be able to make the roster. But again, we got training camp coming up. It's going to be a lot of battles. But I think he'll be okay there. But again, I do see the point that you guys are talking about, where a lot of people, I've talked to a lot of Jets fans as well. I'm a fan myself. I'm just a fan. And people have talked about, look, it's time to move on. He might not even make the roster. It's time to trade him.
I would love to see him because, people already want to push Corey Davis off the field. And so if that happens, my future foresight is Denzel Mims ends up replacing him alongside Elijah Moore, which will be great for us, right? How many second strings have we, kept along? one of the biggest comparisons I kept seeing was Stephen Hill, and I'm like, it's not even remotely the same thing. Baylor's offense just doesn't require a lot from their receivers. It's literally, you're an athlete, you're tall, go do some damage. Whereas, Stephen Hill was coming out of a triple option offense. That man was basically, who's the boy the Packers had picked up again this season that everybody was going crazy for in the second round? I can't remember his name, but he was like a freak athlete as well. Essentially had the same background. I'm like, he's more likely to not pan out for that reason,
Yeah.
But I think 6 is the magic number. If we carry 6, which I don't know how likely it is, because tight end has also been super crazy. If people are thinking about Kenny Yeboah and the hype that he was getting in the offseason as well. Again, Jeremy Rucker, our top 3 are locks, but I liked Cager too, moving to tight end. I think Cager is a problem. Yeah. If you want to talk about formations and what the Jets can do, if they want to go big, Denzel and Corey on the outside, you line up Conklin, Uzoma, you even throw out Cager out there and some of those packages we can do in the red zone. Crazy. But yeah,
I mean, I'm sorry, even if you look at those packages, we can throw out CJ, Conklin, and Rucker at the same time. We've seen the Patriots do that. Come out 3 tight end sets, particularly in the red zone, and just destroy you because they're just playing chuck them up and go get them. Big guy or play basketball. Run into right in front of the end zone, box this guy out, go up, get it, come down, and touchdown. Like we've seen that constantly. But I'm telling you, that tight end situation, especially again, when you look at it, the Niners do a lot of that as well in their scheme. You see, of course, they have an immaculate tight end over there. Let's not.
I think our depth is crazy. I think our depth is crazy. We literally have 2 guys. We have 3 guys. Matter of fact, if you believe that Ruckert has the receiving chops and he just wasn't utilized that way with Garrett Wilson and the other kid that was out there, but we have 3 guys that can literally go out there and smack you in the face if they want in the run game. They can stall you in the pass blocking game. Conklin's highlights pass blocking was crazy. And then they can go out there and run the routes. I think Conklin's the best pure receiver we have out there. He'll probably win a lot of those one-on-one red zone matchups. But Uzoma's not a guy to play with either. The dude's bouncing off walls if you think you're going to tackle him. So
man, I'm talking. He's such a load to bring down. Like once he gets the ball in his hands, he gets going. Man, he just punishes people. And you see that kind of. That's why I love CJ. Conklin is phenomenal. But for me, you look at that tight end position. When we got CJ, I was hyped because I knew that we were getting in a guy, again, that can be such a threat. But when he gets the ball and gets going to Zach Wilson, things are breaking down. He just finds him. CJ going to go make it happen. He going to go move.
Tailor-made for the offense. I think Conklin's a little bit more of an unnatural fit, but he's so good receiving-wise. we can make it work. But, Uzoma.
I'm telling you, it's going to take at least 2, maybe 3 people to bring him down. Easily, like you just one guy, he gonna stiff arm you, or he just gonna run right through you. So it's gonna be tough. But I'm sorry, I wanted to talk about that. But go ahead, we'll get to the question.
It's funny. This is the plight of being fans because you could dive into one player and go off for like 45 minutes.
Yeah, man. Yeah, but
I don't want to tie us up too long because we didn't really set a time or anything, but I know we're going over about an hour now. But heading back to the AFC East, kind of where do you foresee things this season for us?
Man, it's so tough because we talk about the expectations for this football team and all the new pieces that we have and trying to, get everybody on the same page and fit. But when you look at it as talent-wise, I think that we can definitely ascend in this league or ascend in this division. I think, again, when you look at the Bills, they're so tough. The Bills have really done things the right way and built correctly. Again, from Sean McDermott to the guys that they have over there. I used to call Josh Allen a glorified running back. I'm here to tell you. You can go watch all of my videos and everything. I called him a glorified running back. I called him, Mr. Interception, Mr. Off Target. I said all of those things, right? But he has really turned himself around is because of the coaching staff and the weapons that they've been able to put around him as well, right? He turned in from a guy that was awful to an MVP candidate, like almost overnight. It was crazy. And of course they have Diggs. That defense is just phenomenal. And they continue to add guys. Von Miller added to the pass rushers if they needed another pass rusher.
Man.
Right?
So I'm surprised he's able to pull off a 6-year contract. Isn't bro like 30? What is he like 34? I want to say, and that might be
I
Low?
don't know I don't know what's going on over there. Okay. But I'll tell you what, somebody, maybe should look into it. But I'm just saying, like you said, Von Miller is over there for another, for 6. And we know what Von can bring to the table. Even still at this age, he's a guy that can get, around. He can still bend and get around that edge and destroy people. So we've seen him, still be able to impact a football game. And of course, they got guys, Rousseau and all the guys they have over there, one of the top defenses. So I think the Bills are going to be, clearly near the top of the division. But after them, honestly, the Patriots are looking kind of weak this year. But I always kind of hesitate to call the Patriots weak because they always are able to pull something off every single
That
year.
Bill Belichick factor. One of the biggest things for me when people say we're super far off from the Bills is the fact they forget that the Patriots beat them, letting Mac Jones throw 2 times the entire game.
Yeah, it's insane that you can say, oh, well, they just don't look good so good. Talent-wise, they're off the mark. How many years have people said the Patriots ain't even gonna make the playoffs and then they would be in the Super Bowl? It seemed like at least 5, 6, 7 years in a row, people were saying those things. Oh, they're not talented enough. They don't have enough. They're not good. And then they end up, in the playoffs. They end up making it. Like we've seen, like you said as well, we've seen them beat teams just throwing a ball twice. We've seen them be able to change things around. That coaching staff, again, with Belichick, like you said as well, it's such a huge factor because we've seen them be without the talent necessary, but completely have more than enough talent coaching-wise to just put you to sleep every single time, right? We've seen them literally just walk a coaching staff down the street and back and win a game that we didn't think that they would take. So I don't think the Patriots are super talented this year, but that Belichick coaching factor is just so off the charts. It's going to be tough against them. The Dolphins, I do think, have been improved, especially with Tyreek Hill. But I think, again, with our pass rush being improved as well, which I think is going to be a huge factor this upcoming season. I really don't think enough Jets fans understand what it's like to have true pass rushers, not sending a bunch of blitzes and sending guys. Like the last time we had a legitimate pass rusher was John Abraham. That was years ago. Okay, years ago. Even with Rex Ryan, Rex used a lot of blitzes. There was a lot of getting the guy, and he did. He rolled the dice and he won a lot. I mean, he sent a lot of guys at you, but he would get to you because there was a lot of exotic blitzes. But when you can just sit back and have these guys just get after you, and you ain't got to send pressure, the pressure's just coming from that front, it's a different type of feel. Again, we see it with the Niners, we see it with other teams. So I think that's going to have a lot of effect too. I think the New York Jets, could be pushing to be, near the top of the division easily this upcoming year. If everything comes together and the pieces work, I think, again, one of the biggest factors in that is going to be Zach Wilson. Where does he stand? Where does he stand? Because we've given him everything. He has more than Sam Darnold ever had here, ever. Point blank, period. More weapons, more protection, better coaching staff than anything. And so this kid, if he could take the next step forward and be that top 15, again, top 10 quarterback, I think we're near in the top of the division, or we take the division easily. That's just as it stands right now. No injuries, no nothing.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think attributes wise, he realistically he falls just below Josh Allen, and that's really because Josh Allen, 6'5", I think about, if not 6'4".
Dude, he's ridiculous.
As you said, glorified running back. He's really Tebow 2.0, except he can actually throw.
Man,
so
I used to make fun of him so much. I did. I didn't stop during the MVPs because I keep it going. You know what I'm saying? I don't stop. I just keep it going, even But I give people their respect. I'm not a hater. I keep it real. I'm objective. But he really showed up and showed out because, again, he's still a guy, like you said as well. He's got an arm. Josh can take off like
cannon, bro. I think I've seen him rocket from the 5-yard line last season, and
just with a flick of the wrist, he make it. It's easy. It's not like he's got to load up. No, he'll take off, stop, and just gone. And it's just for however long. You know what I'm saying? And now, of course, he was doing that his rookie year. In those first 2 years. But now it's getting to the person that he's trying to throw it to. It's not going into the stands. It's not going to the defense. No, it's getting to Stephon Diggs. It's getting to the wide receiver he's trying to get it to now. So let me tell you, the Bills are tough.
I think because a lot of people say, Zach Wilson's development can be on par with what we've seen from Josh Allen, right? A lot of, division parallels take place, I think, with the new additions we have. But I think one of the biggest knocks that people had on Josh Allen, especially early, was, and it's not necessarily much of a pass, but I think we have to be realistic. You take a look at his weapons he had his final year with the Bisons and then what he went to with the Bills, he was playing with almost a full roster of slot receivers. I mean, everybody was like 5'8" or smaller, right? So there's not a whole lot of leeway for, wide catch radiuses and all, errant passes. And when they started putting a little bit more pieces around him, Cole Beasley gets more comfortable, stuff like that, you started to see, his developmental path take off. And I think he did things a lot the right way. We talked about it a while ago, but with the Zach Wilson development, the mental acuity that he has, he does think different from me. I don't think people really pick up on that. And one of the things that you were saying that rung a bell in my head was I recalled them saying when Zach Wilson was doing his tour, he wasn't just going, they were running, scripted plays, some unscripted stuff, breaking things down, but in a very formatted fashion. But he was also bringing his guy, John Beck, with him to, run things the way the offense should need. And, for people that don't recall, John Beck, we brought on the roster.
Yes.
And
he was on the staff.
There was a lot of positives. There were some hindrances, a lot of, voices in Zach Wilson's ear. But from the perspective of him continuing to work with them in the offseason, he knows what this offense was going to become, or at least what it currently is in place, and how to work towards getting him better in that aspect. So just the mental understanding that I'm going to bring the guy along who knows where I need to get to in this offense, it said a lot for me. And, Zach Wilson hasn't really had an offseason in terms of what the normal situation is for players. I don't think he's rested more than 2 weeks at a time. Tight end university, and he left Cabo early for that. Between traveling to Tennessee, Arizona, Miami, and doing all the other things, he's traveling out for games. He's picking up extra practices. The man hasn't really had an off time. So my only worry is, what his conditioning looks like, which really isn't a whole lot of a factor if our offensive line does what they need to do. But, I'm floored. I'm very high on this team, as high as I've been, in quite some time. And the last quarterback I really fell in love with that didn't get a fair shake was like Geno Smith for me. And, more of the black situation, black quarterback with excellence in New York, that would have been, that would have went on for forever. But yeah, I think I'm in the same boat. Elijah Moore is my go-to guy. I would love to see Denzel Mims do something. Michael Carter is the guy that I'm thinking still ends up being our top performer in the running back room. Breece Hall has some of the attributes that he doesn't, but Michael Carter is the third most elusive guy in the league, at least according to statistics. And if you think about if people tune into his interviews, even he's talking like a guy that's been in the league 6 years already, his understanding of how to pick up blocking schemes, where he wants to hit certain holes, where these cutbacks were. He's also going back. And one of the things I love about Zach Wilson is he can call out a specific game, quarter, time, defensive matchup and tell you, this is what I originally did when we played them again. This is what I did the next time. That showed that improvement. So I really love that from a lot of the players. I think the locker room chemistry is a lot better. Even with all the Mekhi Becton stuff, we've seen starters and just core critical players step up. In the cornerback room, I think a lot of people forget about Justin Hardy. He was one of the main vocalists for a lot of the things that were going left this offseason for players. So I guess diving back into that room, because, I don't think you can't not be excited about this most recent draft that we had, right? But one of the takes I've recently had was I don't necessarily see Gardner maybe walking out right away as a starter, as it's been reported quite a bit. I love Bryce Hall. That's my guy. Bryce Hall's my guy.
Me and you, okay? On me and you. I have been saying this constantly. Everyone, listen, I think Sauce is phenomenal, but everyone thinking that Bryce Hall is just going to automatically just give up that number one corner position and go, oh, I'm just throwing my hands up. I'm going to go and just chill. You know what I'm saying? I'm good. Like, it's all good. I'll just sit on the bench and let this rookie take my job. I'm not tripping. You know what I'm saying? I'm not worried about it. I'm in the league. I'm not. No, that's not going to happen. A lot of people last offseason coming into the season, what was one of the biggest concerns with the Jets defense? It was the secondary. people were saying we're going to get shredded, especially when Carl Lawson went down. They said, oh my God, nobody's going to be able to rush the passer. Hopefully John Franklin Myers can turn into something. Our secondary is going to get destroyed.
It's open
Bryce
season.
Hall, we don't know what's going to happen with him. Eccles, all these guys, we're going to get destroyed. And you know who's the guy that stepped up and showed out last season in our secondary? Bryce Hall. Bryce Hall was matched up against so many great wide receivers. You look at what he was able to do against that kid in Cincinnati, and we all know who that is, okay? That guy was lighting people up before he played us. The Bengals are going to crush us. Oh, this number one's just going to go off. Nobody can stop him. Bryce Hall stepped up and said, nah, he's not going to have that big of a day, my guys. Okay, slow down. And he did that. If you go back and there's interviews that people have done, some of the veteran wide receivers talking about facing Bryce Hall. They were like, yo, he's a good corner. Like, he's a really good corner. He was a guy that showed up and showed out. He was one of the bright spots in our secondary. So a lot of people just talking about that he's just gonna automatically just vanish, okay, into the abyss and just give the spot away. That's not happening, especially if we keep true to the statement of competition at every position, right? Isn't that what they say? Am I tripping? Isn't that what they say? Competition at every position. That's what we talked about with Mekhi Becton. That's why he's competing for the left tackle spot. Why is it that we're now automatically saying Sauce is going to be our number one corner? I don't necessarily think that's going to be true. I would not be surprised at all. And I've been a guy that has been constantly talking about this left and right. I would not be surprised if Bryce Hall is our number one corner when the season starts, because he was phenomenal last season. And the one knock that people always talk about is, well, he don't catch no interceptions, Joe. Well, Joe, he ain't catching no interceptions. You see, he has a lot of pass deflections, though. He's near one of the top of the league in pass deflections. I don't know if you guys know, but that's part of being a corner too. The whole point of being a corner is to not let the wide receiver catch the football. If you catch it, great. If you don't, as long as he don't catch it, you good. Okay, that's how it works. So yeah, Bryce is phenomenal. I can see Bryce being our number one corner. DJ Reed, I think, is a guy that's going to be putting in for that as well. There's a lot of people talking about him being our number two or possibly being a slot. There's a lot of people talking about he could play slot, but I'll tell you what, Michael Carter II ain't just going to let that happen either.
Yeah, I don't see it. I see more likely DJ Reed sharing snaps with Sauce Gardner if they really want to, give him some opportunity.
I'm telling you, because like I know, Michael Carter was one of the better slot corners in the league last season before he went down with that injury. And he was a rookie. He was doing things that a lot of people were like, whoa, what the heck is going on? He was making tackles. If he grabbed you, you ain't getting away. He was breaking up a lot of passes as well. Excuse me. He was playing extremely well. So that's another position I think we're going to see a lot of battles at training camp, but we're going to see how this turns out. But don't think that Bryce Hall is just going to give away that number one corner spot.
Yeah, no doubt. I don't think I could have said it any better. And, that was really the only one nag on him. And you can say the same thing about Michael Carter. His only additional knock was his run support. And, if we want to keep things in perspective, and, I don't ever try to put size out there as a big, argument leaner one way or the other, but he's 5'8" and like 182. So, generally he doesn't have any business in this day and age going out there and try to, knock out tight ends and some of these bigger size slot wide receivers that people want to try to go back to, the Chicago Bears mold for. But he held his own, and that was before the injury. You look at, his final 8 games or so, a lot of people have to remember as well, for these rookies, they haven't touched anything close to a 17-game season. I'm wore out. I'm taking a lot of hits. I'm doing all this extra damage. But yeah, man, I don't know. I don't put him up there in a Revis modes or anything like that, obviously. But Revis never had a lot of interceptions either. He just shuts you down.
Yeah, and people were afraid to throw at him. That was the big thing. Like, people would just be like, "Oh, he's covering whoever it is. You delete it from the game plan. We're not even going to look at you." But Bryce Hall was a guy that was in people's faces. Like, he's just not going to let you buy him. He was, may not be faster than you. He may not be whatever, more athletically gifted, but he was a guy that was in your face constantly. He, again, tons of pass deflections, stopping guys from having great days, matched up with a lot of really good wide receivers around this league and held his own in a defense that lacked pass rush, which means he was really covering guys. It wasn't like he was out there for a second covering guys. No, our pass rush was awful last year. We were near the bottom of the league in sacks, okay? He was out there playing his butt off, and people just automatically think he's done a number one corner. Not true.
Yeah, no doubt, man. It's funny. I was curious to see kind of how much of the same page we would have been on in respect to like a lot of the
Oh
team.
yeah.
And I don't really even look for, oh, this guy absolutely agrees with me or this guy absolutely declines. It's just interesting to kind of hear some of the opinions. But obviously, you're definitely, well researched. And well researched in terms of a lot of what these players offer, because for as many debates and stuff that I've had, a lot of people really just either stick to stats or they stick to some of the glory numbers and stuff that are out there. But yeah, that's definitely good to hear for sure. Any final wild thoughts out there about the Jets coming up in the training camp? Maybe MVP player for the season, some kind of unexpected trade, maybe anything you're looking forward to?
Unexpected trades. I don't know if this is unexpected, but I know that there's some things simmering, I think, in Cincinnati with Bates, I believe his name, the free safety.
Yeah.
There's some things simmering over there. I'm just saying, I smell what's cooking. Okay. And we'll see what happens going forward. Again, I know he's a guy that's looking to get paid a certain amount. He is a free safety. Okay. We're not looking to dramatically overpay, but there's a lot of talk with, maybe the Jets would be looking to grab him. So I mean, we will see. There's a lot of stuff going on in the rumor mill. We'll see what happens going forward with that. But if he ends up being a Jet, great. If he doesn't, I'm okay with that. I'm completely fine because I'm content with our safety position. If you look around at other spots, honestly, with training coming up, I'm excited to see some of the battles. I know we talked about this, the offensive line, that tackle battle, going to be extremely interesting to see how it pans out. Again, if Mekhi Becton is healthy, you already know where I think what's gonna happen. But we're gonna hear a lot of reports. We all know that, right? We're gonna hear about Mekhi Becton's weight. We're gonna hear various reports. So it's gonna be really interesting to see how that plays out. The cornerback position, like we just talked about as well, interesting to see what happens at that position too. A lot of the battles. It's also gonna be interesting to see how this wide receiver position kind of pans out too. Denzel Mims, Jeff Smith. You talked about DJ Montgomery as well. They're going to be battling. It depends on how many wide receivers we keep. Okay, they're going to be fighting for their spots. I'm excited to see again Zach Wilson and his grasp of the offense. See him go out there, chuck it around, and spin it again. It's camp, but I want to see, can this kid continue? That next step, not just out there on the field, but the leadership. We talked about that, or they talked about that with him as well, stepping into the helm of the football team and letting guys know, hey, this is my team. This is what we're going to do here and there. And guys are loving him and respecting him. They're talking about all the, relationships that he's built with, whether it be Elijah Moore or anybody else, how many people in that locker room, really love Zach Wilson and want to put it on the line for him. So that's what I'm excited to see. I don't know. Team MVPs is really early, but I'll tell you what, man.
How about one on both sides? Give me an offense and a defense.
Oh, offensive. You make him okay. If you're gonna make me do this, guys, let's go. And again, this is very early, people. All right, we're in July, but he's asking me this question. I don't shy away. Offensive MVPs. If it's not Zach Wilson, okay, because clearly he's quarterback, so it'd be very easy to pick him. Okay, so I'm not gonna do that. I'll go with Elijah Moore. Because I just think Elijah Moore is just phenomenal. I think he's a guy that could have an offensive MVP type season. If not him, then it'll probably be Michael Carter, because I think we're going to run the ball so much. And I think that he's just going to be instrumental. It actually might be Michael Carter because of the touches I think he's going to receive. I think Breece Hall is phenomenal. I think he'll definitely get his opportunities. But the fact that Michael Carter can come out of that backfield so smooth and easy, we saw the impact that he had last season coming out of the backfield catching the football. It'd be crazy. Defensive MVP. If Carl Lawson is put together, I could see it being him or Jermaine Johnson because of the impact that they're going to be able to have on the field. To finally have a pass rusher, bro. Oh man, it's been years, bro. It's been years. And the impact, if he is together, and I know he's coming back from that ACL. The only reason I'm not gonna be super gung-ho to say Jermaine Johnson, it's because Jermaine's a rookie. You know what I'm saying? I understand that he's going to be able to come in and put things together, but he's still a rookie. I know some people talking about him having 20 sacks. Look, I think he's going to be great. I love Jermaine. He was one of the guys that I wanted to see the Jets get in the building.
Oh, that's crazy. I actually
Man,
was not a big Jermaine
you wasn't
Johnson
a big
fan.
fan? Oh
Not
man, let me tell
okay,
you.
not a huge fan in terms of where we wanted to pick him. I could see the first round talent, but
Okay.
I was paying attention to a lot of the guys that break down like college tape and stuff like that,
Hmm.
and it helped beef up my knowledge. So that part was great for one, but two, I seen a lot clearly of what they were saying on tape. Breaking
Hmm.
down 3 or 4 games where they were saying, we see a lot of, if we want to talk basketball, like hezzy steps on tape
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
he's already beat himself out of getting a sack or being able to make a play on the game. And
Hmm.
his pass rush, I've seen, he definitely has a lot of tools. His spin move is crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, that false step that he usually takes, and he'll take 1 or 2 of those every game, really concerned me, at least right out of the gate. But I also understood he's a run defender right now.
Yeah.
If he gets the sacks, maybe let's say 8 to 10 on the season, maybe that's a high mark as a rookie. But
Yeah.
you know, uh, who's really picking a run defender in the top 10? So
Yeah.
us getting him at 26 was phenomenal. But
Well, I think that for me going in, I understand people talked about, his base, but I thought that he has the ability to really step up and be a very solid pass rusher. And I think a lot of the things that you just talked about, I was going to mention, I know there's a lot of guys that are I'm not like super into watching everybody's tape, but I watched a lot about that guy, right? And that some of the things you just talked about, the steps, a lot of people talked about him not having enough pass rushing moves and different things like that, hand placement as well. He could get better at that, and he's got to get better at exploding. All of that is coaching. All of it, right? We've seen guys. Now I know and everybody else listening, knows this as well. We have seen guys get talked about like crazy coming into this league, and it's like, man, if he could just do this better, that better, this better. Every single player has some things or a thing that they need to improve in, and a lot of that is coaching. The reason why I'm so excited about him is all of that stuff can easily be coached, and we have one of the best teachers, right? Not just coaching, one of the best teachers in this league, because we've seen Robert Saleh. I saw it personally. I live on the West Coast. I'm forced to watch the Niners. It's an awful existence. Okay. I don't like it. I don't like it. They're on the TV every week. I'm tired of it. Okay. I'm tired of it. I'm telling you, but I love the West Coast. I grew up here. I love it. I'll never leave. But let me tell you something. I watched his defense, and I watched him take guys that people were like, "Oh, this guy's trash. Oh, this guy, he's an in between. He's a safety. I don't know what he is, a safety, linebacker, whatever he is. Get him out of here. He's not going to be successful." And Robert Saleh said, "Come on by the facility. We'll, I'll have you do this, do that." And he was putting guys in positions to make plays. Warner, that guy, he put him in so many positions to just destroy people. It was crazy. He let Bosa just be Bosa. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Go out here, do your thing. He coached him. There were so many things. You look at others, even the secondary, Tart, all those guys that had very good seasons on here. A lot of people don't talk about that secondary. Oh, I know it very well, okay? Because I watched these guys, and he coached these guys up. So when you have a coach and a teacher like that within your locker room, that's why I'm so excited for Jermaine Johnson, because all the things you talked about, that hezzy step and, hand placement, all that other stuff, that can be coached out. He's going to sit him down again with Albrick and all the other guys we got and be able to coach that stuff out and coach in the things that he needs to be successful in this league. So that's why I'm excited about Jermaine Johnson. Again, I don't want to say team MVP because he's a rookie. That's a lot of pressure. And I know people talk about 20 sacks. I didn't say that. Like you said as well, I think 8-9 sacks this season. I'd love that from a rookie, guy that we're all hoping to be a pass rusher. But let me tell you, if Carl Lawson can step up this season, I don't know if he'll get over, maybe 10 sacks, because he's never really been like a huge sack guy.
Yeah.
But he's a guy that can make a big impact, just pressures. Also make a difference as well in this league. A lot of people don't talk about that. Pressures. I think he's going to have sacks and get to guys if he's healthy and fully ready to go. Because if you look at him, that dude's built like, just a mountain of muscle. He looks like he can, really get things together. I know he's coming off that injury, but we've seen a lot of other people come off that injury, be in solid shape and really be able to put some things together. There's been other names as well. So for me, if Carl Lawson can come back and be solid, I think Carl Lawson could end up being our defensive MVP because of the type of impact that he's going to be able to put on games.
I think those are strong candidates. If I had to go with the same, I think, I talked about it before. I think we're 32nd in rushing attempts. I think we're closer to maybe like 10 to 12 this season. So I'm leaning towards Michael Carter offensively. Defensively, it's a toss-up because I don't think we'll have anybody that necessarily stands out head and shoulders above the rest of our team. I think either we see Bryce Hall find his way to a lot more interceptions and he'll continue to get his pass deflections and stuff and he stands out, or we see somebody like Jordan Whitehead potentially, because a lot of his knock was that he can't cover and he's like, I just wasn't asked to do that. I can get the job done, or at least, I expect to. So either between those two in the secondary, or I would have to maybe say a guy like Quinnen Williams, maybe as part of the hype train being built up. We expected you to be this guy. We've seen in Alabama, this was kind of your natural progression as well. 2 years playing, some minimum snaps, and then third year crazy. So I think with the pieces around him and the interior being more often than not weaker for offensive lines than not, I think he predictably probably has the better season. I'd say like maybe 12 sacks. I'd say 12 sacks. I think I'm comfortable with that number as like a breakout for him.
Yeah. I'm waiting to see what Quinn is going to be able to bring to the table. I know, like you said as well, a lot of people looking at these sack numbers. I don't know if the sack numbers are going to be high for him because of the type of player he is. 12, I would love that too. But I think for me, I want to see disruption this year. I want to see top tier disruption this year from Quinnen Williams. That's the big word for me with him. I want to see disruption. We talked about the run on the offensive side of the ball. The run stopping on the defensive side of the ball was just, it was invisible last year because it wasn't happening. We was getting ran on constantly. I'm talking constantly. We were near the bottom of the league in run defense. Like it was insanely. It was a shame. It was an absolute shame. I mean, I think we were like 29th against the run or something like that. Yeah. Like we could not stop anybody, right? You go back and you watch that Colts game, we got ran on. There were so many. I think the first 5 games we gave up 100 yards in each one of those games. It was crazy. Like we couldn't stop anybody. But if Quinnen Williams takes that next step forward, and that's why, again, I think it was pivotal that we got Jermaine Johnson. We got pass rush, and that's why I was excited, because I thought we were going to get him at 10 because he was there. And then we passed on him. I did a live draft show. I just went crazy. Joe Duggar, come on, man. Look, I love Garrett Wilson, but come on. What is wrong with you? And then we get him at 26. Why it's pivotal that we got 2 guys that can really, come off the edge as rushers is now Quinnen Williams gets that single matchup, one-on-one. And now we get to not only figure out who you are, right? Are you going to eat when the table is set? Or are you going to, push away and go on about your business? Not only we get to figure that out, but now we get to figure out, do you have the talent? Do you have the talent to be the guy that we took that high in the draft? Because there's no excuses now. None. And if he's disruptive, he's everything that some people say that we don't have. We don't have a guy that can stop the run. We don't have a guy that can get into the back. We don't have a guy that can just, listen, tackles for losses, shutting things down in the backfield. We've seen that before out of him, though. Right. But now he's got two cogs set next to him that's going to be solid. Guess what? Go out there and just cause issues, disrupt the running game. He can also be disruptive in the passing game as well. Like we said, we've taken him take a center and push him into a quarterback's lap. We want to see more of that. Maybe you don't get the sacks, but you just disrupt the play, get those pressures like we talked about as well, getting those pressures, getting those hurries, getting in guys' faces. You want to see that. So I want to see that out of Quinnen Williams. The sacks would be wonderful. I don't know if he'll get, I know there's a lot of people that have talked about, 13, 14 sacks with him. But I think he's a guy that's just going to be extremely disruptive and causing a lot of issues, for an offense, particularly up front, trying to run and also trying to set up something to pass, especially in a screen game, because he's a guy that can just throw guys around and, get into that backfield and cause havoc.
Yeah, no doubt. I think it's very much so feast or famine for our defensive line. And to be honest, I'm not one that's very high on numbers. If I could watch a game and let's say we only pick up 3 sacks the entire game, but we have, 70 pressures.
Yeah.
I'm taking it. Man. I'm taking it.
Yep. Because that can turn into turnovers as well, which I think is, again, a big thing about our defense. We need to generate more turnovers. And I think with the pass rush and the added disruption, you'll see that, because now I got a second and a half to make a decision. And most quarterbacks around this league, when you have that very little time back there, dog, they're going to make that mistake. Okay. You're going to make that mistake. You either going to get smacked, which is great. You're going to get stripped, which is wonderful, or you're going to throw that interception, which is beautiful. Either way, it turns into us getting the ball back and being able to implement our will. So, you know, I can't wait, man. I really can't wait.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. I would say this is probably a good point to tie things up because I know I know Lil Man's in the background probably going crazy. But yeah, if you could drop if you could drop all of the places that everybody can find you at again for sure.
Yeah.
I've seen a few comments now. There's definitely some people that have been listening to the your talk radio show for a while. So if I have any guys to, females here, whatever the case is, if you guys haven't flocked to it, please definitely check that out. I'll make sure I can get the information out to you guys. But yeah, I do remember, I guess, as part of wrapping things up, I reached out specifically because somebody had put me on. They mentioned the radio show. I must have forgotten it. But they were like, we don't we don't really have a Black community. The people that's talking about the Jets, whether that be the East Coast or West Coast. And I was thinking about it for a minute. I was like, that's facts. It's always been like Jet Central that I've seen put out there, or I guess Buffalo Jet fan now. But the only other guy I can think of was like Green Bean. But yeah, no doubt. It's been a pleasure definitely chopping it up about this stuff. Definitely agree with some of the comments I've seen. We should link up for more stuff for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, for sure. I'm actually out on the West Coast too, so maybe we'll link up at some point. It's probably not going to be too long of a drive. Is it Long Beach still, or?
Yeah, well, I'll be moving. My work is crazy,
Okay.
so I'll be moving around. But I'm definitely from there. Everybody knows it's in the name. You know what I'm saying? I got to rep the city. You know what I'm saying? So that's what it is. But yeah, listen, I absolutely enjoyed coming on. I definitely want to work with you in the future. Like, hey man, hit me up anytime we can come on and talk about the team. I love connecting with Jets fans and just talking about this football team. Absolutely. I put the link to my link tree. Anybody, again, I'll put it in the comments too. You can maybe put that in the description later on.
Yep.
But I put the link tree in the comments as well. Anybody that's watching, please hit that link tree that has the links to all of my social media, all of my YouTube pages as well. Long Beach Joe Jets is my Jets YouTube page. And I talk about the team. We do live radio shows throughout the off season. If you follow me on my Twitter, which is YoungJ000, or you go to the Long Beach Joe, which is a shows page as well. So I announce when I'm going to do my shows. We have a lot of fun on those radio shows. Again, we'll do them throughout the entire offseason into the season. We talk about the Jets and we have a lot of fun. The only thing I do not allow on my show is cursing, okay? Don't call into my show cursing, bro. I'm going to get you up out of there. All right. It's a family show. I want to be respectful to everybody. We have a lot of fun. And I get to everybody, just definitely wait your time. And we give everybody, their time to speak and their takes. And we have a lot of fun doing that. Again, we also watch live shows together as well on that channel. We have a lot of fun doing that. But you'll find I have other YouTube pages on there as well. Reactions, gaming, we do that too. I play games, NBA 2K, Street Fighter 5.
Oh, yeah. We're going to have to link up, Ron, right
with
you.
Okay. Listen.
I haven't separated the channel up yet, but yeah, I'm with you.
Okay, listen. Anytime if you play Street Fighter, anybody play that, come on by. We have a lot of fun doing that. My schedule is crazy, though. So, when I have time, which hopefully I have time coming up, we sit down and sometimes I just, cut on the system and we sit down and we have a lot of fun. Like I said, NBA 2K, Street Fighter 5, Madden, Resident Evil, Outlast, all that stuff. We play all that stuff and we have a lot of fun. So Long Beach Joe Jets is there. I have my gaming channel on there as well, my reaction channel, which content is coming for that. We also, just have a lot of fun doing a lot of different things. And again, Facebook, the Long Beach Joe, going over there to Facebook, Long Beach Joe Show. And, follow me on Facebook as well. We have a lot of fun over there, too. That's when you could check out my content on there as well. And we do that. And, man, we just have a blast doing all that stuff. And, again, the number to my show is 515-602-9639. 515-602-9639 is the number. When I announce my live shows, I put my links up, all that stuff. Call in, and we just have an absolute blast. And so, again, please go through my link tree. Follow me across on my social media platforms, all of my YouTube pages. Hit that notification bell so when I post content, y'all be in the know. You know what I'm saying? Salutes. And again, respect to you, man. I want to thank you for having me on your show. It's phenomenal, man. I really, really enjoyed this conversation.
Yeah, no doubt. Likewise, I wish we could have got to it sooner, but there are some hiccups.
It's
There
all
are some
good, man.
hiccups.
It's all good. Yeah.
But it's been a pleasure. I definitely love to link on some things in the future. We'll try to make things happen for sure. As he mentioned, I dropped the link tree in the comments for you guys. I'll make sure it's in the description when I get some time tonight to re-edit some things. But yeah, pleasure as always, bro, for sure.
Absolutely.
More energy, high spirits to you moving forward. Hopefully things continue to grow for you, and we will definitely catch up.
Absolutely. Thank you again, man.
No doubt. All right. That's a wrap, guys. DKB going out. Long Beach Joe on the show. Things have been awesome. Make sure you guys check it out. Go visit the page. Check out the link tree link. Do all the things for them. We'll catch you guys again. Peace.